So what does it mean then to be a servant of servants in the context of the curse that Noah pronounced? Well, like I said, the curse was on Canaan, but it reflects the entire line of Ham. The line of Shem is God's servant to the people of the world in a spiritual sense. The line of Japheth is God's servant to the people of the world in an intellectual sense, and we talked about that last week. The line of Ham, however, has provided physical service and invention to the whole world, and therefore they literally are the servants to the servants, Shem and Japheth. Ham has become the ultimate fulfillment of this prophecy. Two of the great ancient empires of the world, the Egyptians and the Sumerians, were from Ham. The seagoing Phoenicians descended from Ham. All of the African tribes and the Chinese and the Korean and the Japanese people and all over Southeast Asia, all of these people descend from Ham, as also do the American Indians and the tribes which moved from Asia over to the Americas. Ham's sons were the original great explorers of the world, and they traveled to all parts of the world. They were the first people to cultivate food staples like corn, like potatoes, like beans, and other things. The Japanese people have made amazing developments in plant grafting and pollination, and most of the basic forms and types of building structures, the materials and tools used for building, all of these kind of things have come from the line of Ham. They developed many types of fabrics and sewing and weaving techniques and the implements for doing those things. Medicines and surgical instruments and all of the medical practices going back for eons came from the line of Ham, as do most of the concepts of practical mathematics, surveying, and navigation. Banks, postal systems, commerce, machinery, and trade money, all of them came from Ham. And paper development, ink for writing, block printing, movable type, and many other forms of written communication skills come from the line of Ham. The further back you go, you find that almost every basic system or device that we use for a living and for making life convenient come from the sons of Ham. And so you can see they really are a servant to the servants of God. In essence, they have been mankind's servants in fulfillment of this ancient prophecy of Noah. However, and despite this, almost all of their inventive skills have come to a certain point and they've stopped. Eventually, the sons of Japheth or the sons of Shem have stepped in and refined them to make them more convenient and more useful for us. And something else, just as we learned in last week in the line of Japheth about an interesting flood story, we have one from the line of Ham too. The Chinese have a tradition that their first king, known as Fo-He, which, believe it or not, is translated Noah, appeared on the mountains of Qin, which was surrounded by a rainbow after the world was covered with water. He sacrificed animals to God, just like the Genesis story, and he had a great-grandson named Sin, which is exactly the name of Canaan's son, Sin. And this guy lived at exactly the time that the Chinese culture developed. Even today, the Chinese culture is called the Sino culture, after the son of Ham and the son of Canaan. Another flood tradition within the Chinese culture comes from the Miao tribe, which is in southwest China. It's said that before missionaries ever visited these people, they believed that God had once destroyed the entire world by flood because of man's wickedness. But he saved a righteous man named Noah, his wife, and their 3 sons, and Noah's sons' names were Lohan, Ham, Loshen, Shem, and Yahu, or as Japheth has said in Hebrew, Yapet. And they, with pairs of animals, were all saved by, believe it or not, building a giant ship. So we see another flood parallel, very similar to Japheth last week. The Chinese also have a book of history, which is known as the Shu Jing, which was compiled by Confucius. This book speaks about an Emperor Shun, who lived about 2200 BC, surprisingly enough, right after the time of the flood, and it is also when the first Chinese dynasty developed. He worshipped and sacrificed a bull to a god named Shangdi. And believe it or not, Shangdi corresponds to Shaddai in the Bible, God Almighty, or El Shaddai. Apparently, these sacrifices to Shangdi went on until 1911, when the last Chinese emperor was deposed, and that was right about the time that my grandmother lived in China. So they were sacrificing to Shangdi right up until modern times.